Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. In this video, I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing the FlySky Nobel NB4 transmitter. This is a really high-end transmitter. It's got a lot of great features. It can be switched to work for left-handed or right-handed drivers. It comes with 2 receivers. This particular one comes with 2 micro receivers for the Mini Z Evo cars, like the MR03, which I'm also going to be unboxing and reviewing in a separate video, but these were bought to work with each other. I'm also going to be using this for a high-end Mini Z class race car, not made by Kyosho. It's made by GL Racing. It's one of their new models, and I'm going to be covering a lot of different Mini Z items, techniques, cars, parts, etc. over a series of videos, and going to be getting you some race footage. I've actually got a Mini Z track set up. I've got my buggy track outdoors, and I have an RCP 96 track, which is the 30mm tiles, with an expansion set as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And there is Mini Z racing at a local track near me, so that's going to keep me busy through the winter, along with some off-road driving. But I wanted to tell you about this radio and all the features it has. I'm going to be doing several videos just on this. For example, there is an RF module that can be purchased separately that you plug into this radio and upload some software, and it allows this radio to communicate with the Kyosho Ready Set cars. Any of their Ready Set receivers will communicate with this radio, and that allows you to have a much faster communication link to the Ready Sets. If you've driven the Mini Z Ready Sets, you know that they have a lot of handling issues because of the lag. You end up having to kind of anticipate what you need the car to do, and it makes it kind of difficult to drive. So not only do you have much faster control, but you have advanced features like ABS, endpoint adjustment, exponential, dual rates, all the high-end features that you would have in any high quality radio you're going to get in this, and you can use those with your Ready Set cars. And of course you have multiple cars in memory, so all of your Ready Sets can be programmed into this, so you'll have one radio for all of your Mini Z cars. Not only that, it also works great with any other class of car or boat, any surface radio application. So I definitely recommend these. They're really nice. They come with a heavy base that helps it stand up straight when you set it down. That base is actually a metal cased battery pack that powers the transmitter for up to, I think, 11 hours. So there's a lot going on here in addition to a color touch screen. So I'm going to open this up, and we'll see what it's all about.
I bought this for Mini Z racing specifically, but I am also going to be using this with some of my regular cars, both on and off-road. It's supposed to be a fantastic radio, and the NB4 can be ordered in a couple of different combinations. The difference is not in the radio, it's in the receivers that are included. You can get this without any receivers, I believe, or you can get it with 2 receivers, either the micro Mini Z specific receivers or the more regular style recognizable plastic cased receivers for racing any other type of surface vehicle, and that includes boats. I don't believe they have any waterproof versions, but if your boat is set up properly, that shouldn't necessarily be a factor. Now, just to kind of show you what a nice radio this is, right off the bat you can just tell that it's quality, that they've they've given you this really nice box, which I'd rather not pay for, but I certainly don't mind that they've done this nice packaging for us. Hopefully it didn't translate too much into the cost of the radio. Here we have our very light manual. This is just enough to get you going. If you go to FlySky's website and you go to the web page for the Nobel NB4, you will find links to downloads and support, and you can get the latest firmware, which you're going to want to do. You're going to want to upgrade. If you're in the US, definitely download and install the FCC version. It uses a little more electricity, but you get slightly longer range, and you need it to be legal in the United States. You need to be FCC legal. Just assume that as a given. So let me just set that aside for now. And here we have this box, which has some of our knickknacks in it. And in there are 2 Mini Z micro receivers. And as you can see, that's a very small receiver compared to the, the human thumb. These will plug into the MR03. There's a little data port here on the back, and that's going to plug into a PCB board on the MR03. We get a pair of those. We get an extra handle piece. There's going to be a difference in thickness, so you can adjust the grip. And here is a USB cable that is going to connect the radio to your computer for setup and for software updating. And it also lets you charge the battery pack that's here in the base. Let me just go ahead and put the radio box aside. So this is a nice solid metal case here, and that's because it's got a nice lipo in it. Let's see how we... There we go. So you can see we have a USB port back here. We have a another micro USB port over here. One is going to be for comms and one is going to be for charging. And then we have a little button here that turns it on, as you can see. See if we hold it in, does it turn it off? Yep, you just hold it down to turn it off. I haven't had a chance to review the directions on this, so I'm just kind of showing you as we go. There's a protective panel on here. I'll take that off later. Let me just discuss some of the features that I know about this radio. So we have a couple of different, I think these are like 3rd and 4th channel adjustments. We also have a micro switch here, like a thumb switch. There's one on the opposite side. This can be used for left-handers or right-handers. You just swing the steering to wherever you want it. If you want it at an angle, if that's comfortable for you. If you want to run like this, you can do that. Most people, right-handed or left-handed, tend to drive like this because that's how most radios are. That's how they've learned, and I'm a lefty, and I've just gotten used to driving like this. At some point, I might actually swing it around and see if I improve. But you can program your 3rd and 4th channels to any of these additional controls. Our trims for throttle and steering are here and here. We also have 2 little micro buttons, micro switches here, kind of like paddle shifters or something. I don't think I would want to try to operate those while steering. That's just me. Now we have our throttle here and brake, just like you would on any other radio, but there are some differences. Number one, the distance between this part of the trigger and this part of the trigger can be changed. There is a screw right here You can pull back and access it right there, and that allows you to adjust the distance that is here. Now, for me, this thing cups my finger quite nicely. I'm right there. I've got throttle or brake, and there's no dead space. Now, some people might like having a little bit of dead space where they can know that they're not either giving brake or gas. There's also a way to tighten or loosen the spring. This has a decent feel to it right off the bat. There's another screw right here. Let me slide this out of the way. Right there. And adjusting that screw will increase or decrease the spring tension on the throttle and brake. Likewise, on the steering, we have a screw that is in this little port here that will tighten or reduce, either loosen or increase the tension on the spring here. But as you can see, it's got a very quick return to it as it is. But bigger people, stronger hands, having a little more of a centering feel to it. So it's a little more positive sensation when you get to center. That might work well for you. So something to play with. So all we do is snap our battery pack in like so, slide it forward, and we are in business. I believe that's how it works. There we go. Just slide it forward until it snaps. And there we go. And as you can see, even though we've got, some serious electronics up here and a color display, it's very solid. This thing has a lot of heft to it. Because of this battery pack, it feels really good in your hand. It doesn't feel like a toy. It feels like a piece of professional equipment. Now, I believe that is our power button.
Welcome to Noble.
And it even talks to you. There are controls to increase the brightness of the screen. As you can see, it may be a little hard to see because of the light I've got overhead here. So, see how the GoPro is showing this. Anyway, let's go to settings. Again, I haven't had a chance to review all this. Display. See, but a lot of things is going to be very intuitive because it's all... Oh, that's wrong. Back. Steering throttle. No, we don't want that. Maybe system. Language units. Backlight adjustment. Max backlight. Okay, that's max. So I've moved the minimum and the maximum up to their highest levels. But as our timeout is set for 30 seconds, I'm fine with that. I'm not worried about battery because I always recharge my stuff regularly. Okay. We have sound. We have a vibration feature. LEDs, home screen, quick access, auto power off. Radio frequency setup, stick calibration, firmware update, factory reset. That's just in system. There's a tremendous amount of options. It's set to English right off the bat. Units. Let's go to Imperial and Fahrenheit. That's me. I definitely use a lot of metric measurements, but I'm most at home with Imperial and Fahrenheit. So, just to go over some of the features, we've got servo reversing. Steering and throttle are both normal at the moment. This is for FlySky 01. There's our model name. Our transmitter battery is there. I'm going to go ahead and peel this little protector off right now. Okay, EPA is endpoint adjustments. So for steering and throttle, we can adjust our endpoints. And we could I don't know if we can add endpoint adjustments for other controls, the other two, because this is a 4-channel. We have sub-trim for our 2 primaries. This allows us to adjust our steering exponential and dual rates, and you basically have a curve here. Right now it's a straight line, but you can adjust it. Now you can't do it by hand, but let's see, steering exponential. So as you can see, as I increase the exponential, we get this curve. And what that means is we're going to get more effect early and less effect later. So as you start to steer with this adjustment, you get more steering initially, which usually you want the opposite. Usually you want to go, if you're setting up Expo for your steering, a lot of times you'd go with something like this, where, and that's kind of harsh, but I'm trying to just kind of demonstrate how this looks. And I'm hoping that is, yeah, it looks like it's showing up on screen for you. That means as you start steering, it's not as sensitive at the beginning range of left and right. And as you go further toward the end point, you get to the point where you're going at normal rate, and then you get more and more and more travel toward the end. So that way your steering is not twitchy. It's easier to keep the car in a straight line, because when you're doing it, you get like fine adjustment in the beginning, and then you get much more steering toward the outer ends as you're really turning the wheel. And you can do the same thing with your throttle. That's my, I was just trying to wipe. I guess my hands are a little oily at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and,
Please confirm.
yes, reset. Okay, so there's a little like a arrow in a circle here. That basically is your reset button, and as you heard and saw, it will ask you to confirm and give you a yes or no, keep the setting or not. There's a check mark to confirm when you've made changes. So right now I'm just going to back out, and I don't have a model saved here at the moment. Sub-trim. We did steering direction, throttle direction, exponential. So we've got a variety of controls here. I'll go over those in more detail later, especially if you guys are interested in that. ABS is like an anti-lock brake type of setup. Basically, it's gonna, when you give brake, it's gonna pulse the control. The delay, the cycle length, the trigger point, in other words, how soon it kicks in, duty cycle, steering mix, that's all the options we have there. We'll talk about that later, maybe some point in actual practice. We have a timer, which would allow us to, like give ourselves a 5-minute or a 10-minute race and see how many laps we can do in that period of time or whatever. It's just basically a clock timer, lap and lap memory, that kind of thing. Assign is going to allow us to assign any of the optional controls, like these rotors here, these rotors over here that you can reach with your thumb. Those are going to be very hard to reach while you're trying to steer, at least with my hand, the shape of my hands. The little trigger I could probably reach, but it's still, I don't think I'm going to run into a lot of scenarios where I'm using channels 3 and 4, but those are there for me if I wish. You can also, mixing is in here somewhere. This is our models, where we create a models, and you can import and export. One of the things you can do is you download the factory. It's a software assistant. It's a piece of software that goes on your computer, and it'll allow you to upload all of your saved vehicles. And that way, if you accidentally reset the radio, or something happens to the memory, or you change a car and then it didn't work out for you and you want to go backwards, you can re-upload the last version. If you are doing a software update on the radio, it will wipe out all the models, so you want to back up all of your saved models. And that's one of the things that software allows you to do. So you would export all of your models to your computer, do your software update, and then import them all back into the radio. Let's see. We have a steering speed, so this is going to kind of create, I guess, like some type of delay. I'm not 100% sure, but it adjusts the return speed. Like let's say you turn in at 100%, and when you release the steering, you want it to come back a little more slowly. Don't ask me why you would do that, but let's just say you can set that up. We have our system. You saw that earlier. This allows where we would do our binding and do receiver software updates. Okay, we have our throttle speed. That is going to be the same thing as what I was talking about with the steering. So if you want your brake to come off slowly, like you hit the brake hard, hard and quick, but you want it to kind of come back slowly, so that you get a more of a progressive return and a little extra braking, whatever, you can do that. And you have that independently for throttle and for brake. So you've got two separate directions to have that option with. We have a throttle neutral zone. Right now, if you look, there's a teeny straight line in there. You can increase that, or you could go into dead zone and go the opposite way. And what that does is it creates literally a dead zone in your steering. Now right now it's kind of off center, so you would not most likely want that unless you wanted different turning from one side or the other. But your dead zone is going to mean that nothing happens during that first little bit of steering. So you've got to say, like, get to like 2 degrees before you start getting steering influence. That could be used in conjunction with exponential to soften that center range of your throttle. Something to play with. And just tune the radio to yourself. And then throttle, the throttle curve is the same kind of thing, except for the throttle and brake instead. We have display option. This just lets us look at our, like, let's say we're working on our car, and we're setting up the steering servo and stuff like that. We can see visually what our servo is doing. So if we've made adjustments to like exponential, we would see that as I start turning, I get less of a result right away and then much more toward the end, or vice versa. And the same thing with throttle and brake. As you can see, the brightness drops off after a moment of inactivity of screen time. Let's see what this is. Instructions, quick start guide and instructions. So if you don't have the manual with you, I highly recommend downloading it and printing it out, or put it on a tablet that you keep with you at whatever. But I like having a hard copy. It's always a good backup. But here we have our instructions. Scan the QR. This lets us download the documents, so that they're not actually in here. It's just lets us get to them with another device. So that pretty much covers what the radio is capable. As you can see, it's very full function in its normal mode. We can see our throttle, we can see our brake and steering. If we were using one, if we had one of the other channels set up, we would see that action. We've got our voltage and a list of any sensors. This is telemetry enabled, so you can have various speed and other type temperature sensors and get that data from your vehicle into the radio. So it transmits bidirectional. You're receiving information from the receiver as well as sending it if you're set up for that. Now those are sensors that you have to buy separately, in addition to having a receiver that is capable of sending that data back to the transmitter. So bear that in mind. If that's something you're interested in, having telemetry, you'll need to make those extra purchases. But this is where that data will be displayed. So as you can see, our battery is low. I'll need to put this on charge. So I'm going to go ahead and power this down.
Shutting down.
And there is my new radio. And in a video that will be coming up here shortly, I'm going to be installing this into a brand new MR03 Evo Mini Z and getting that out to the track, and I will update you on my views on the performance of this radio and how I like it in practice. Not like practicing practice, you know what I mean. So anyway, that basically covers it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I definitely recommend this radio. I've heard wonderful things about it. I've never heard a negative word. If you want to race Mini Z, this is one of your best options. And the price point isn't too bad. They're in the 200 to 250 range, depending on where you buy it, if you catch it on sale, things like that. Your shipping costs may vary depending on your location around the world and where you're ordering it from. Like most things, it's made in China, so don't let that dissuade you. FlySky makes nice products. I've got a lot of little FlySky items around here that I've used for years. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell icon, you'll receive notifications every time I launch a new video.